So last night's election was full of wins for the Democratic Party. And even more importantly, actually a huge win for progressive policy. Progressives won big yesterday. So now, first, the Virginia Democratic Party has actually taken control, full control, of the state government for the first time in nearly 3 decades. So they won both majorities or majorities in both chambers of the legislature. So that's really, really important. And they actually did it by not running away from, but actually running towards and running on progressive policy. And one of the big things here is the Green New Deal, the embrace of the Green New Deal. So now, let me go give you a couple of examples of the people who had won. One of them was Josh Cole. Josh Cole, progressive, uh, big booster of the Green New Deal. You also have Ghazala Hashmi. So now Ghazala Hashmi, like Ilhan Omar, is an immigrant from Somalia. And so she had weathered a ton of racist attacks, sexist attacks from right wingers, conspiracy theories against her. She still ended up winning her seat. That's awesome. She's progressive. And then you have Dan Helmer. They all flipped Republican seats in both the House of Delegates and the state Senate. So they did really, really well. You also had a Democratic Socialist, Delegate Lee Carter, as well as Kelly Converse Fowler, as well as Elizabeth Guzman, all DSA, winning re-election. So that's really important. That's awesome. Okay, so now it appears from a lot of these wins that far from being unrealistic, pie in the sky, and not palatable to the voters, the Green New Deal is actually becoming something that the voters really want to see. And that's backed up, of course, by polling. Now, in Virginia, and I didn't know this before, but I give great credit to activists on the ground for this. They managed to get the entire Virginia Democratic Party to unanimously back the Green New Deal. Look at that. That's the power of grassroots. You guys did that. People on the ground, you did that. Virginia Democrats now in favor Green New Deal. And they ran on it and they won. Amazing, amazing victories. So now, look, here's what's funny about this, right? So now, Virginia, yes, Virginia is, of course, steadfastly Democratic, right? A lot of victories for Democrats in Virginia, and normally a very fairly blue state, right? Now, Nancy Pelosi. Remember when Nancy Pelosi was criticizing progressives, and of course she does that all the time, right? As well as progressive policy. Remember, she called the Green New Deal the Green Dream or whatever. She says, well, look, progressive ideas, they can't possibly win outside of California or in places like Michigan. I mean, come on, the Green Dream or whatever. Well, what happened? What happened? Well, now here you have progressives pushing policy and winning, running on this policy in Virginia, which is not known. Yes, Democratic, fairly blue, but not like California, which is supposed to be even way more progressive. And yet here you have somebody from California talking down to people like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and the DSA people, basically the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, and saying, well, your ideas won't work outside of anywhere but here. In fact, I won't even let them work here. Well, sad day for Nancy, right? Now, I want to give you a quote here from Varshini Prakash, who's executive director of the Sunrise Movement. I love this. She said that tonight showed that running on the Green New Deal is a key part of how Democrats can win elections. The polls and election results tell a clear story. The Green New Deal is a winning issue. When Nancy Pelosi and corporate Democrats try to argue otherwise, it's nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to shut down progressive policies and protect the interests of corporate donors. Yes, absolutely. And it's not just the Green New Deal. There's also progressive policies. For example, according to Data for Progress polling conducted ahead of Tuesday's election, policy proposals, along with the Green New Deal, such as free insulin, allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices, and expanding Medicaid were widely popular across the state. And you know why? It's because these policies actually help regular working people, regular human beings, and not just multinational corporations. But of course, the other argument here is, oh man, look, these may be blue districts, but again, Democrats do traditionally well in Virginia, so this shouldn't be a surprise. Whatever, they still can't win in places or across the country, right? Well, except for the fact that Delegate Cole had flipped a district President Trump won in 2016, a conservative district. He flipped it, and he ran on the Green New Deal and ending cash bail. Fairly progressive. Just saying. What now? Look, Democrats can win on bold policy proposals. They can win on being unapologetically progressive and not instead running to the right and running to the corporations. No, because look, we already have a corporate party. It's called the Republicans. They're the party of corporations, big business, tax cuts, deregulation, etc. Now, of course, they also have the racism, sexism, etc. But here you have a corporate party that already exists. And by the way, all that racism, sexism, etc., it's basically all to get voters to vote for tax cuts and deregulation. So we already have the corporate party. Why can't the Democrats actually be the party of real people, of progressives? Now, let me give you a tweet here, because this is great. This is Nick Tagliaferro for Data for Progress, right? So the one who did this polling. In response to Cole's victory, he said, quote, rethink your electability assumptions. Really important. So I love that, right? Because here we have here the Democratic Party slaves under this notion of we have to run to the right. We have to be more conservative in order to become quote unquote electable. Load of horse crap. No. Electable means actually appealing to regular people. Now, of course, in their minds, electable means, well, we've got to, we've got to kowtow to the donors and also to the Republicans. We're going to try and get suburban Republicans and Trump voters, right? We're trying to get those people. No, you don't try to get those people. You actually try to excite the majority of the country who are mostly progressive, as well as the independents who are also lean progressive. And so there it is, right? I actually try populism for once because it actually works. Now, let me give you another quote here. Last one. This is Evan Weber, the Sunrise Movement's political director. They also said that Tuesday's election demonstrated that when candidates reject corporate money and run on ambitious plans to tackle climate change, lower utility costs, and create good jobs, they win, despite right-wing attack ads trying to paint them as too radical, which of course happened not only in Kentucky, but also anywhere that they run, against Republicans, basically. That main line of attack is, look at these Democrats. They're socialists, they're communists, they're too radical, they're unrealistic, and that, of course, gets used by the corporate Democrats as well to attack progressives. They'll never be able to win. Look at what they're trying to do. They're going to raise your taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? That's not true. In reality, these policy proposals, while yes, are bold, they're also more realistic because what's not realistic is allowing climate change to continue as is. It's not realistic to allow, basically for our planet to become uninhabitable. It's not good for business, it turns out. Habitable planet, Good for people, also good for corporations. Weird. But look, let me get to the last part of that quote, by the way. Uh, and this really is about the future of the progressive movement and democratic politics. Quote, this is the roadmap Democrats need to follow in the years ahead. Well, absolutely right. Turns out that if you do use this roadmap and you fight for the people and you use populism, you might actually win. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.